Today's edition of Gender Perspectives. This is the program where we explore the issues shaping men and women's lives in today's world. I'm your host, Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha, and today we're delving into a topic that touches millions of families across the globe, the realities of single parenthood. What does it truly mean to raise children alone? How do single parents navigate the emotional, financial, and social challenges that come with this journey? And how are boys and girls affected differently by growing up in a single-parent home? We'll be unpacking the facts, the struggles, and the strengths, exploring how society can better support families of all shapes and sizes. But we'll go on a break, and after that, we'll be back.
The way we see the world shapes the way we change it. Gender isn't just a checkbox, it's a lens. One that helps us understand the world more deeply and act more fairly. Gender Perspectives, a program for those ready to see more, do more, and be more. Designed to challenge assumptions, ignite conversations, and build inclusive solutions across every sector of society.
We are not, fighting the men. We are not saying we are equal in terms of rights. We're only asking they should recognize our existence.
Join us on Gender Perspectives, showing every Saturday by 4 p.m. Repeat every Wednesdays by 5 p.m. and Thursdays by 3 p.m. Change begins with perspective. Let's widen yours.
Before we begin our conversation, let's take a closer look at the facts behind this topic. Now, single parenthood is not just a personal experience. It's a growing social reality that affects families, communities, and children around the world in different ways. Now, from the economic challenges of raising children alone to the emotional resilience of parents who take on both roles, single parenthood reflects both struggle and strength. Now, how are men and women experiencing it differently? And what impacts does it have on the boys and girls growing up in these households? Well, here is our background report on the realities of single parenthood.
Single parenthood has become one of the most significant shifts in modern family life, reshaping how societies view parenting, gender roles, and child development. Across the world, an increasing number of children are being raised by one parent, whether due to divorce, separation, death, or personal choice. While the experience of single parenthood is diverse, its realities reveal both the profound challenges and the remarkable resilience that define these families. Over the past few decades, the structure of the family has evolved dramatically. The traditional two-parent household is no longer the universal norm. In both developed and developing nations, economic pressures, changing cultural attitudes, and personal choices have contributed to a steady rise in single-parent families. In many African societies, particularly in Nigeria and other parts of sub-Saharan Africa, single parenthood is often linked to socioeconomic hardship. Studies show that children raised by single mothers face higher risks of malnutrition and limited access to education due to reduced income and social support. In contrast, in more industrialized societies, the challenges may be different, centering on time management, work-life balance, and emotional strain rather than outright poverty. Despite these differences, one truth remains consistent: the experience of single parenthood is shaped heavily by the intersection of economic, social, and emotional factors. The realities of these families cannot be understood without considering the context in which they exist. Single parents bear an immense weight of responsibility. They must balance financial provision, childcare, discipline, education, and emotional support, often without help. Financial strain is perhaps the most visible challenge. With only one income to sustain the household, many single parents find it difficult to meet the rising cost of living, housing, and education. Beyond money, time itself becomes a scarce resource. The demands of employment, domestic chores, and childrearing can leave little room for rest or self-care. Many single parents report high levels of stress and exhaustion, which can in turn affect their mental and physical health. The lack of a co-parent also means there is often no immediate support in moments of crisis, decision-making, or parenting conflict. Adding to these pressures is the weight of social perception. In some communities, single parents, especially single mothers, still face stigma and judgment, viewed as having failed at maintaining a traditional family. This can lead to isolation, shame, or reluctance to seek help, further deepening their emotional burden. The realities of single parenthood extend to children as well. Research suggests that children raised in single-parent households may face challenges related to emotional development, academic performance, and social integration. However, these outcomes are not uniform and depend heavily on the quality of parenting, the presence of supportive networks, and the family's socioeconomic stability. Children may experience feelings of loss, confusion, or divided loyalty, especially in cases of divorce or separation. The absence of one parent can also mean reduced supervision or emotional guidance, particularly during formative years. Studies show that boys and girls may respond differently to single-parent dynamics, boys sometimes exhibiting behavioral challenges, while girls may struggle with emotional regulation or self-esteem. Nonetheless, it is crucial to note that single parenthood itself is not a predictor of poor outcomes. The real determining factors are the conditions surrounding it, such as financial hardship, instability, or parental stress. When these are managed, many children from single-parent families perform just as well academically and socially as their peers from two-parent homes. Although both men and women can be single parents, their experiences often differ. The majority of single-parent families are headed by women, who must simultaneously navigate caregiving and breadwinning. This dual role is complicated by persistent gender wage gaps and limited access to childcare support. For many single mothers, economic vulnerability becomes a defining feature of their reality. Single fathers, though less common, face unique challenges of their own. They may encounter societal expectations that question their nurturing capacity or emotional sensitivity. Some studies suggest that single fathers may receive less community support, yet they often experience fewer stigmas around independence. Their challenges, though less visible, are equally complex, particularly in balancing work and parenting, and in fostering open emotional communication with their children. Despite these challenges, many single-parent families thrive. Research and lived experiences alike reveal that single parents often develop remarkable resilience, adaptability, and emotional strength. They tend to cultivate close, trusting relationships with their children and teach values of independence, empathy, and perseverance. Children from single-parent homes frequently display maturity beyond their years, taking on greater responsibility and learning early lessons about cooperation and resourcefulness. In some cases, single parenthood by choice, especially among educated, financially stable individuals, can represent empowerment and autonomy rather than adversity. Understanding the realities of single parenthood also means acknowledging society's role in shaping them. Governments and communities have the power to reduce many of the hardships single parents face through supportive policies and programs. Financial assistance, childcare subsidies, flexible work schedules, and community-based parenting support can make a profound difference. Educational institutions can also play a part by creating environments that support children from single-parent families, offering counseling, mentorship, and after-school programs that provide stability and guidance. Furthermore, mental health services for single parents can alleviate stress and help them manage emotional well-being effectively. Ultimately, single parenthood is not merely a story of limitation, it is also a story of resilience. When supported by understanding communities and fair social policies, single parents and their children can flourish just as fully as any other family structure. Recognizing and discussing these realities openly is the first step toward building societies that value all forms of family life.
Get plugged into the heartbeat of entertainment on The Hub, your ultimate show on e-vibes. From trending stories and social media drama to top charting music, must-watch movies and exciting moments from the world of arts, we've got it all. Join us for unmissable conversations with your favorite entertainment personalities, plus fun segments every week.
So I should try harder. So
Okay, I don't know that one.
outfit of the day.
Oh, I don't do that. That's some Gen Z stuff.
Oh, now you say it's a Gen Z stuff.
It's everything you love about entertainment, served fresh every week at 1 p.m. with weekend repeats just in case you missed it. The Hubs on E-Vibes, where the vibes never stop. Only on Signature TV.
The way we see the world shapes the way we change it. Gender isn't just a checkbox, it's a lens, one that helps us understand the world more deeply and act more fairly. Gender Perspectives, a program for those ready to see more, do more, and be more. Designed to challenge assumptions, ignite conversations, and build inclusive solutions across every sector of society.
We are not, fighting the men. We are not saying we are equal in terms of rights. We're only asking they should recognize our existence.
Join us on Gender Perspectives, showing every Saturday by 4 p.m. Repeat every Wednesdays by 5 p.m. and Thursdays by 3 p.m. Change begins with perspective. Let's widen yours.
Now that we've heard the background report on the realities faced by single parents, it's time to hear from someone who can shed further light on this important topic. Now joining us today is Mr. Onyekachukwu Asadu. He's the Executive Director, Building Boys Academy. Welcome to the program. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Uche. It's a pleasure being here. My first time on Signature TV.
It's our pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now, first of all, let's talk about what single parenthood is, looking at our society today and also the environment that we find ourselves in. So what does that mean to be a single parent?
Okay, single parenting, is about we all know who a parent is. One male or female adult, having to shoulder the responsibility of raising children. I deliberately said adult because, of course, a minor or cannot saddled with that responsibility. So when a male, or female adult, due to circumstances, different circumstances, has to shoulder the responsibility of the burden of raising children on their own, that is single parenting.
So what would you say are some of the common reasons that parents become, we find families having single parent households?
Okay, there are different, there are many reasons. One could be, the most natural one could be the death of a husband or wife in this case, where maybe the head of the family dies. It could also be where there is a separation in a marital union, and then one parent has to take custody of raising the children. There could also be maybe separation because of the justice system. Maybe a father or a mother committed a crime or is found culpable in a crime and is sentenced to jail for a long period of time. You could also factor that on that because at that point, due to solitary confinement, the other parents cannot be involved in raising the children. We also have, I think I've mentioned cases of divorce. Then we also have cases where maybe because of juvenile tendencies, a young girl gets pregnant, and the young man denies the pregnancy or feels that he doesn't want to be responsible, for that pregnancy, and then this young lady is shouldered with the responsibility. Then, in very recent times, I've also seen a few men who just stumbled on an orphan, found a baby somewhere, hidden somewhere, and picks that baby up and says, what, I'm going to take care of the welfare of this child. You can also tell that him as a single parent. So these are the circumstances under which single parenting, or the things that can actually lead to one becoming a single parent.
Now we find that there seems to be this perception of single parents in our society. So what are some of those perceptions? Because women have peculiar ones and men have peculiar ones.
Yes.
So can you just shed light on that?
Okay, so what do you mean by perception? Is it how people see?
Yeah, how people see them, how people perceive them, how people look at them and all of that.
Well, I think those who take the larger portion of perception on negative side are the women, because usually women are seen to be the ones who are nurturers of the children, so it's very rare to find a woman abandon her children, you know. So people always look at single mothers as the first idea when someone says I'm a single mother is, okay, maybe you had an affair with someone and then you got pregnant, that means you are irresponsible, right? Which for me is very, very wrong. Other perceptions are also where the maybe like in my own case, I remember my mom, when my father died when I was 12, and my mother had to face the option. Some of my uncles came with the idea of, since it will be difficult for you to raise these kids alone, why don't you leave them with us? My mother said no, you know, and then they started pushing all kinds of narratives that she's been that she doesn't want to take care of. She doesn't want, that who knows whether she will take care of the children, you know, and all of that. You know, that's also another kind of perception where a woman doesn't want to let go of her children to relatives. You know, and of course, in the case of a young lady who gets pregnant, maybe she's in school, you know, and sometimes there's this perception. I've had a few people I know who got pregnant either when we were in school or got pregnant at a very young age, you know, wasn't expected. And then sometimes when men come to them for marriage and they say, I have a son, I have a daughter, I have children, there's this, you know, there's this shock, like, why would you, you know, so then that's for the ladies. Then for the men, it's not very common, you know. Men are seen to bear a lot of burdens. There are many single fathers, like I said, who don't like showing it, you know. So there's this there's more like they are seen as weak. If a man is known to have custody of his children, as by virtue of being a single parent, you know, they are seen as being weak. They are seen as men who cannot because as if a man stays more with the children, he's seen as someone that doesn't have a say, you know. Meanwhile, you don't know the story, you know, behind what happened. And like I said, these things are very rare, and because men who are single parents don't want to be seen like that, they kind of want to shield themselves from the public in that regard. So the burden is borne more by the women, you know, than the men in this regard.
Now, Mr. Asadu, you were talking about the peculiar or the way people perceive both male single parents and female single parents. But what about their struggles? What are those, you know, things that they have to deal with on a daily basis? What are the realities of being a single parent?
Okay, in my work with a lot of parents, let me just break it down, male and female, right? So they have some similarities, but when it comes to the females, like I said, you have stigma. You know, okay, this lady is a woman, and people that don't know her well, you know, tend to cast certain aspersions on her without knowing her enough to know what exactly she's going through. So you have financial challenges, economic challenges, particularly if she's not properly educated or doesn't have and because she has the burden of these children, if she wants to grow her career, depending on the industry she is in, it may be difficult or challenging if she doesn't have a support system. I've seen women who, despite their being single mothers of 3, 4, 5 children, are still able to, you know, break the ceiling because they had support system. You know, so you can also see a lack of a support system, maybe an understanding family members, friends who are willing to support her with babysitting, with creating a safe space for the children, you know, so that she can also face her work. We also have the being should I use the word ostracized, isolated from joining certain groups. So we have let's say some churches. So if a woman comes and says, I am a single mother, she's not married to a man, some female groups in the church will say, no, you can't be a member because we don't know, there's no evidence that you are married to this man. So if the man is not, if she was not a widow, you know, any other thing can be seen as, okay, she's she doesn't represent what we stand for. So that way you're isolating the woman, you know. So there's this stigma, you know, against her, even in religious circles, which for me shouldn't be so. I mean, if a woman can present herself to a house of faith and say, you know what, I want to give myself in serving God here, but look at where I'm coming from, I think that the church should be able to look at it critically and say, you know, no matter what you are, we still think that you can still bring so, because nobody knows She can even be a resource person. In the event that the woman loses her husband in that group, she can play a role as a resource person, right? We also have, I think I've mentioned that social expectations in terms of how society treats the woman, how they perceive her, how they treat even the children themselves. What is the attitude to children who, when the mom comes and says, I'm a single parent at school, how do teachers treat? Do they support them, or do they make comments that can actually affect the mindset of the children? Then for the males aspect, one of the challenges is when it comes to custody and access. So sometimes it's seen as almost a taboo. If a man says, I live alone with my children, I'm a single parent, because of the cultural things associated with it. And then we also have the judicial system. If maybe in the case where because sometimes judges can be very connected to their cases personally. So if a judge is biased, maybe there's someone else who wants to take custody of the children from the man, and in this case the judge doesn't feel comfortable with the man without looking at the facts, it can affect the man as well negatively. We also have emotional challenges, because it's not really easy raising children, particularly when they are coming up. Then of course you have the financial challenges too, because the man now has to think. And then in this part of the world where women are seen as helpers in terms of keeping the home, and you have little children, it can be very difficult for a man who is not used to keeping a home to handle that. So imagine a man who, he's been the one moving up and down, providing, and then the wife dies, or the wife says, I don't want to marry again, or runs away, and then leaves the kids with the man. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be very difficult for him if he doesn't have a support system. So for me, these are the major things that happen when it comes to the challenges that single parents face. And then the children too, if the kids are not adults and they don't understand what happened, sometimes some children actually go, become mentally ill because one parent is not there. So imagine the burden on the parent that decided to stay back. Sometimes the children get bullied at school. For the period my dad wasn't around, because before my father died, my parents were separated. So for the period that they were not around, I was bullied, and it affected my self-esteem. If any people that know me 15, 20 years ago, if they see me on TV, they are always shocked, because this wasn't who I was. I had so much low self-esteem. I used to have fear. I used to be so scared. So imagine a boy who has prepared for an examination, is smart, and even after writing the exam, still feels that he didn't do well, before seeing the results, So it can also affect the children in terms of academic performance, in terms of being bullied, in terms of making friends. He can be ostracized from certain friends just because his parents are single parents. So these are some of the challenges that we see.
That's quite a lot. Yeah. Now we've unpacked how men and women, the challenges they face differently.
Yes. Yeah.
And you've also made mention of some of the challenges children generally face. But would you say that there are peculiarities in the challenges faced by boys and girls?
Okay. That's children in those settings.
Children from single parent homes, but boys are their own challenges peculiarly different from what girls face, or would you say it's the same generally?
Okay, just like boys and girls are different, their needs are different. Okay, so it comes with different stages of development. So if the children, for example, are infants, or let me say they are toddlers and pre-adolescents, the major thing they will face, particularly when they've been exposed to school and church, is being bullied, whether they are boys or girls. Being bullied by friends. Okay, your daddy is not here, your mom is not here, where's your daddy? Just taunting the child for no reason. It can also lead to, depression. People don't know that children get depressed, but it is true. Children also we've seen children I've had boys who are suicidal. Boys who are not yet teenagers, but they are suicidal partly because their father was not even there. Not because their parents are single parents, but because the father is not even available. Either he's always traveling for work and doesn't make out time to be present in the son's life. So you know, try to push it to when that boy does not have a present father in his life. He'll be bullied by people. He'll be, you know, there will be this selection, you know, this way of what you don't belong to our group because your dad is not there. And again, in terms of development, now this is across both boys and girls. So if you look at the boys' side where the boy doesn't have a dad, or the girl doesn't have a mom, when it comes to things like puberty, for example, the boy will struggle. If he doesn't have a mentor in his life, he will struggle with someone that will help him navigate that time, because it can be very crazy for them, you know. And then for the girls too, having to go through puberty, menstruation, understanding how a woman's cycle works and everything. If her mother is not there to, you know, hold her by the hand, it can become a problem, you know. In terms of provision, you know, material provision, maybe a child has been used to. I've had one or two friends whose parents were well to do and then they just died, and it affected them at school. It affected they have all of a sudden they lost their friends, you know, just because their parents died, you know. So there are differences, quite all right, but it depends on the stage of development as they grow older, you know. So that's my take on that.
Now, would you say that as a people, as Nigerians, since we are Nigerians and these are environments, do you say that we do much when it comes to giving proper support systems to single parents and also children from single parent homes? Okay,
well, to be honest, in this part of the world, we have very wonderful laws, but we don't practice them. So for me, in this part of the world, the most powerful support systems I've seen are family support systems or friends. I've not seen a case where government, you know, comes in. For example, we have a Ministry of Children Affairs in Enugu, Children, Gender and Social Development. So even though it's not tagged family, by reason of the kind of work they are supposed to be doing, they are supposed to be the ones connecting to families. For example, I was talking to a friend of mine in Ireland who has twin girls, and one of the girls has a mental, you know, like she's not, I think she's autistic, I can't remember anymore. But she told me that even after giving birth and they were able to diagnose the twin that is struggling mentally, she goes for clinics where they train them on how to take care of the children. They provide services, they provide play, they provide a lot of support. So, you know, see what the environment can do. So we have policies in place, quite all right. But in terms of strong support, which is why we're Africans proudly too, the family has always played all the families I know where they are single parents, it's only been the family. I have a very particular case of a man. He's a professor and he has about 2 boys. I was fortunate to mentor one of the boys who just finished his school certificate examinations. And in this case now, the man, because of his job, gets to travel a lot. Now the boy is a teenager, he can take care of himself quite all right. But I've noticed that when the man is not around, some family members come in. His sisters who are married, sometimes he sends the boy to spend time with the families of the sisters who are, you know, well married, so that he can have an idea of what a family is all about. You know, he can appreciate family, because one of the things that come out from a child who has been raised by a single parent and has those challenges is that sometimes they resent marriage, they resent real love, they resent having a stable, healthy relationship. It becomes a problem. You know, some even become toxic. You know, so if they don't undergo healing as a result of the loss of a parent, whether by death or by separation, if they don't undergo therapy, if they don't even, I dare say, undergo experiences in faith, you know, even the Christian faith, which provides services that can restore hope and restore, you know, healing, you know, it's been a very big problem for that child. Yes. So for me, the truth is that we have practical laws in place, but when it comes to implementation, is a problem. However, in Africa, in Nigeria, in Eastern Nigeria, across all the families I've seen, the single parents or single parent families I've noticed, we are backed up by family and friends. Yeah.
Right. Now, you've mentioned a case of a man you know that has family support,
Yeah.
but I'd also like you to share any experience that you've had when you've related with a single parent, you know,
Okay.
and you know what peculiarities about their situation struck you the most. That would be nice to share.
Okay. And one thing that being a single parent does to you is that it makes you resilient, because you are now wearing two hats. It's no longer about okay, in the case of the man now, I'm the man and there's a woman. No, now you are wearing two hats. So you are thinking as a man, you are thinking as a woman. You know, so it makes you peculiar. It makes you think on your feet, because you know that you can't be hanging around with you. For example, a single man who is married and has adolescent children can't be hanging out with his friends in the bar. He can't do that. He can't. It's a risk he can't afford to take. You know, and he will be a bad father even if he has friends or family that will help him. He will be a bad father not to get involved. So it's more like you are doing the job of two people. You are taking up their responsibilities and their roles. And that peculiarity is that, I mentioned resilience now, is that you have to be able to overcome the stigma. You know, you have to be able to tell yourself, you know what, no matter what people say about me, you know, so your self-esteem matters a lot. So every single parent I've worked with, they have a very high level of self-esteem. I've noticed it. Very high. Yes, the ones I've worked with now.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't mean that they did not didn't come from a bad place. Some did, but over time, they just developed it. There are some who still stay stuck. But like I said, when they have a good support system, it's easy for them. So I've met some single parents who I didn't know they were single parents until I got close to them. You will never see it. They will never show, they never talked about it. You know, unless maybe you ask questions or you just got to know, or maybe your child just tells you, you know, my dad died several years ago, or you know, my mom walked out on us. You know, so it comes as a surprise to you, but for them it's really nothing. You know, what other peculiarity? People always think that single parents don't have time for relationships. That's not true. They do, but the problem is that, you know, sometimes because of the stigma, they tend to just lock up. But many of them are, you know, are willing, because they know that when it comes to the family, the way it has been designed by nature, it should be the man, the woman, and the children. You know, so what they are looking for is a partner that will understand their situation, a partner that will provide support, a partner that will be able to say, you know what, let me help you take some of the burden. You know, and a partner that will be invested in the children, because the children have to struggle with getting used to someone else who is in love with their parents and who is taking the place of the parent that has left. You know, so these are some of the peculiarities that come with you know, with being a single parent. Yeah.
Right. Now, from you mentioned, you know, about introducing a new person in the place of maybe a new husband or a new wife, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Now, that leads me to ask about the relationship between single parents and their children, because while the parents are battling with their own issues, the children are also battling with their own issues. So how would you say that this affects the relationship between the parents and the children? Okay,
I mean, it affects them in many ways. But you know, like I said, one thing I've noticed is that it goes with the growth of the children. You know, so if a woman had if a parent lost the spouse, for example, and the kids are very small, you know, it affects the children in terms of not getting used to seeing their father or their mother. And sometimes some kids can go out of hand. Some can even start blaming the parents, you know, because they don't know what they are doing. They don't even know what they are saying. They are still very young. They are saying that, so they don't understand, you know. So that way the kids are affected. Another way it affects them is that they find themselves getting, you know, having to get closer to that single parent. You know, they now build their world around that parent. I have a boy. He just got admission to the university. I know the history of the family, and you notice that the boy is very close to the mom. Like, you know, like if the dad was there, he wouldn't be close to the mom. But now he's more, you know, any little thing he talks about the mom. Everything is the mom. My mom this, my mom that. So how does it affect them? As they grow older, when it comes to making choices with the opposite sex in terms of relationships, it becomes a problem, because they find it difficult to detach themselves. A lot of young men I know who were who had single moms as parents, either as widows or by separation or by unwanted pregnancy, they are very attached to their mothers, very attached, and so they find it difficult to detach themselves. And this is also where the parent has a role to play. As the boy is getting older, or the girl, you need to find a way to teach that child independence. That, look, I'm not the only person here. There are other people that you're going to meet in your life. The time will come when you will build your own life, your own family. You can. I know a young man who is 35. He's still living with the mom. He's working, and he's very attached to the mom. Like, they are so close. You know, he does everything. And one day I said, look, you're gonna, and he has not been able to do well in relationships. He's a cool guy, he's a nice person, but he just can't commit because he's so attached to the mom. And no reasonable girl, you know, who wants to build something with her man would just, you know, no matter how good she is, how selfless, you know, would want this guy to any little thing. He wants to make a decision, he has to call the mother for everything.
Is she a single parent?
The mom is a single parent.
Okay.
She's in her 60s now. You understand? They live here in Enugu. So that's the flip side, you know. And that thing is that the parents, if the single parent has been so good, you know, the child or the children get used to comparing their parents with other people. So a young girl, I've had a friend who told me that, you know, she wasn't going to get married until she meets a man that is exactly like her dad. Her father was there right from the very beginning. He didn't leave them, and I give him all the credit. Right, but the truth is that he failed to prepare them to see that, look, a time will come when you're going to have to start life with someone else, you know. So you imagine the lady telling you that she can't marry, she's working, she's a professional, pretty, everything, but she can't settle down. Men are coming left, right and center, but she just can't settle down with one just because they don't fit the, you know, they don't fit into what her father is, or who her father is. So it's a psychological problem. Truly, it is.
And a lot of people go through this.
Go through it without even saying it. You understand? So it also affects, you know, even the mental health of children in a way. You know, because you see a child, if the single parent has not been a very good single parent, you see them. So imagine a single parent who doesn't know how to raise their children right. You know, you see this child looking for comfort elsewhere because my mom is not, either they're not feeding them well, or they're not taking care of them, or they are not they don't provide them with love, and they keep blaming the father that ran away or the father that died. Meanwhile, this person has run away. You are there in the picture. What are you doing to, you know, give this child a safe space where they can thrive and grow? If many parents, single parents around you have been able to find a way out, then what are you doing? You know, so I think I'll just stop here for now.
I mean, there are a lot of things that I really wanted to expand more.
Yeah,
but,
okay.
Yeah, but let's just go to, there is this idea that children from single parent homes are disadvantaged.
Okay.
Why
That's
is
the
that?
stigma.
No, yeah.
That's the stigma. I faced it when I was in primary school. I had this classmate. He's a popular actor. I won't mention his name, but he used to. In fact, the father was the one that came to my rescue. The dad used to take us. You know, he knew about my mom, my family, and he would insist on taking me to school and bringing me back. And somehow, I don't know. You know, boys. You know, the boys just felt, I don't know, for no reason, they just started taunting me, bullying. You know, but the man will always call me, a medical doctor. He will come and say, look, don't let these things affect you. The fact that your father is not here doesn't mean that you're not meant to be someone great, or you're not meant to be a dad. He said, one day you're going to be a dad. And if you don't learn to toughen up and you don't learn to be responsible, then what will you tell your children? You know, and those words really helped me, you know, and it helped me to kind of build a shell, you know, around all those things I passed through. You know, so when it comes to things like that, it becomes, for the child, it becomes an avenue to either make up his mind to say, you know what, I'm going to go through this without letting people decide for me. Because the truth is that being a single parent, really, you are a human being, right? And life can happen to anybody. You know, anybody would have had to pass through that challenge. Okay, so being a single parent should not necessarily make you lose sight of the fact that God has blessed you with children. Okay, it is now for you to find an opportunity where, how can I help these children? And for example, my mom, when I was a teenager and I was growing up, I was very fortunate to be attached to. I just admired seeing families, you know, men in church. Then you see a man, wife, and children. So I started looking for those men who are very responsible, and I have a very charismatic personality. You know, I know how to relate to people. So imagine a young boy of 10 looking for a 40-year-old man, asking him hard questions, and just forming his way into the family. And the man is coming with this boy and tell the wife, I just made this new friend in church. So you know him, right? Okay, please, I would like him to spend time with us. And that's how I got to learn how to be a man.
Right. Now that leads me to ask one final question before we end this conversation.
Okay.
How can young people better be prepared for the realities of parenting? Whether single, because you just said life can happen to anyone.
Anybody, yeah.
Yeah, so how can young people better be prepared to face the realities of parenting, either as a single parent or as a partner parent? Yes. Okay. And what would you say to any single parent that is watching now? Okay, this is 2 in 1 question. So let me start with the young people. You know, as a young person, it doesn't matter what you've gone through or what you see in your family right now. If your parents are single parents, first of all, appreciate them for providing a space for you to thrive and grow. What has happened. They might have made their mistakes in the case of separation or whatever, but you don't have to put the blame on them. If you're a young person, don't wait till you get married before you start preparing for parenting. There are thousands of free opportunities online, you know, to learn about parenting. If you're a young man who wants to be a good father, there are books on parenting. There are materials on being a good parent, being a good dad. There are videos, there are free conferences you can get online. All you need is your data, you know, where you can learn how to be a better parent. When you find someone that you want to start a relationship with, I always recommend that you spend time talking about parenting, because there you get to find out what that person thinks about being family. You know, many young people have a thwarted idea of what family is all about. So it's not about sitting down to take the person to a fine place to eat. Have you sat down to examine what is the person's mindset about family? What is the person's mindset about finance? What is the person's mindset about school? What is the person's mindset about, you know, keeping children in a safe space, or just leaving children to people that you don't know to take care of? These things are very, very critical, you know, in parenting. And you must also be mature enough. You know, being a parent requires maturity. It also requires multitasking. It also requires being prepared for any emergency. You know, at any point in time, you can just be going home now thinking that everything is well, and then your son comes with a bob on his head, and you just have to take him to the hospital. So being a parent requires sacrifice. I always say, if you know that you don't want to make sacrifices, please don't marry, don't be a parent. If you want to do it the right way, don't marry, don't be a parent, because anything can happen. And for the single parents who are watching, my advice would be very simple. You know, love yourself. That's the first thing I want to say. You know, don't keep dwelling on what has happened. If you've done your best, let's say the person is still alive, you've done your best to reach out to get them to take responsibility, by all means, and they don't want to do anything about it, leave them alone. Do your part, work hard, look for friends and family and a strong support system who can give you all the, you know, support that you need to keep your children while you also pursue, because you need to build yourself, you know, so you can be able to take care of your children, provide for them. Look for resources. There are programs that are done online and even fiscally for single parents. You know, I don't think we have anything for single dads, but I know there are programs for single, you know, men. If you're a single dad and you are struggling, you know, reach out. You know, look for people in your church, in your community, who can provide necessary support. There's a mistake some single dads make. When a wife dies, or when the one leaves and doesn't want to come back, or something else happens to that person, the next thing people are telling him is go and marry. That's wrong, because the choice of getting married after the first person has left is a dicey one. It can affect the children. It can affect how everything works. So work on yourself. Work on your self-esteem. Spend time with your children. Build that bond. Don't outsource your role. And I'm saying this to single dads now, because single dads have that problem more. Don't make the mistake of outsourcing your role as a single father to people to take care of your children. Use the opportunity, every opportunity you can, to spend time with them, and then look for responsible men who can
counsel you, who can provide support, you know, so that you can take hold of your authentic manhood, and at the same time be able to get all the love you can, because a time will come when those children will grow up and they will leave, and it's the memories you leave them with, you know, that will make them remember you or not. So that's my take on that.
That's a very lovely advice. Thank you so much for that, and thank you for joining us, Mr. Onyekachuku Asado.
Thank you. Always a
it's
pleasure.
A pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we'll go on a very short break. Gender Perspective continues right after now. Welcome back. As we continue our conversation, it's important to address some of the common misconceptions surrounding single parenthood. There are many myths out there that can unfairly shape public opinion and add to the challenges single parents face. We'll take a moment to explore some of the most persistent myths about single parenthood and the truth that can help us better understand and support these families.
Get plugged into the heartbeat of entertainment on The Hub, your ultimate show on e-vibes. From trending stories and social media drama to top charting music, must-watch movies and exciting moments from the world of arts, we've got it all. Join us for unmissable conversations with your favorite entertainment personalities, plus fun segments every week.
So I should try harder. So
Okay, I don't know that one.
outfit of the day.
Oh, I don't do that.
Oh.
That's some Gen Z stuff.
Oh, now you say it's a Gen Z stuff.
It's everything you love about entertainment, served fresh every week at 1 p.m. with weekend repeats just in case you missed it. The Hub's on e-vibes, where the vibes never stop. Only on Signature TV.
As we've seen today, the realities of single parenthood are complex. They are shaped by economic pressures, emotional strength, and evolving family structures. Yet, through it all, one truth stands firm, which is families come in different forms, and each deserves respect and support. Now, as a society, it's up to all of us to replace judgments with understanding and to build systems that support and not stigmatize those raising children alone. Well, that brings us to the end of today's edition of Gender Perspectives. A very big thank you to our guests for sharing their insights and to you for joining the conversation. I am Uchenna Chimdi Olwoha. Thank you for watching.